That's right. It's Monday night, and it's a special Monday night because it's the 6th anniversary of Sports on the Hill podcast. Welcome live to the lab with CP3. If you're watching live, you see we got Robbie G and the Man Cave. We got Anna K posted up, ready to go over this 2-0 in 1 week for the Capitals on their Canadian road trip. You saw the hat trick, Kuzzi's second hat trick of his career. We saw this past week that we're going to break down all of those beautiful goals in this beautiful week of Capitals hockey and get into the upcoming schedule along with some football later on, some NBA, and Robbie has a special uh, March Madness special with some things going on Twitch that I'll let Robbie break down because that's beyond my knowledge capacity of what they be doing over there on Twitch and everything. But Robbie G, how are you doing tonight, good sir? My partner, my friend, my compadre, my 6-year companion on
Yes,
Sports on the Hill podcast.
it's crazy that we've gotten to do this for 6 years, Carol. It makes me so happy. So few shows make it past 3 years, especially in the podcast space. It's just very often people are like, I really want to do this, and then they get into it, do it for a couple of months, like, wow, it's a lot harder than I expected. And for us, 6 years later, thinking back at all the different things we've gotten to cover a Stanley Cup championship, and for me, that was like maybe the pinnacle, but also, the Nats, winning it all. We got, back here, their championship as well. We also behind, got the Mystics. We got to cover that. And so to cover 3 championships, also, to do the Valor, that was pretty cool. We've gotten to do so many different things. So many great guests have been a part of the show. We've already got AnnaK here, who talks hockey every week with us. We're so blessed to have. But we have so many guests. Tonight we have I think it's 10 or 11 guests planned. It's going to be a 3-hour show, especially over on Twitch. It's going to be a long night. Lots of friends joining us in chat. I really appreciate everybody for joining us over there as well and saying congratulations. People follow us on Facebook. We've been able to grow 2,000 followers on Facebook, and a big community. Some of our posts get thousands and thousands of reach, and it's kind of cool. They love these little post-game snippets that we've been doing. We've gotten really good reviews on those, so I appreciate Facebook for short things, and Instagram followers, and the people that have loved us here on Twitch as well. We've got a busy night across all different platforms, but 6 years, Carol, it's impressive. It all came from just a post that you did in one of my groups, and I followed up on your page. I saw it, and the rest is history. It's crazy. We started off on St. Patrick's Day, right? So technically St. Patrick's Day is always our official anniversary, but we always do it the Monday that falls on the week of. Yeah, just really, I love our first show. We talked Caps on that first show. We talked about them and the run up into the playoffs. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. And it's crazy to think, some of those players are still on this team, but many faces have changed in those 6 years for sure. But it's been fun to cover them and the football team. We've now covered 3 different names for them, right? So that's kind of interesting. A baseball team that no one expected to do anything, ends up winning it all. The oldest team. That's a pretty crazy story. We've gotten to cover a lot of pretty cool stories.
The fact that we predicted not that they would win the World Series, but they would make it to the playoffs and make a long run when they got off to that bad start. That's one of the things I love about the show the most, is because, like you said, we've got to follow these teams from the beginning of the season to the end, every game, game in, game out. Listen to the fans whine and complain. Listen to the so-called experts, not have faith in them, and they, give them reason not to have faith in them. And then to be there and see that run and be able to break it down week in and week out. That's an amazing feeling, as someone in sports, to be able to see your team and cover your team all the way. And the fact that we're on a record saying these things, that we aren't, jumping on later or bandwagoners or just saying, oh yeah, we tried to tell you and no proof behind it. We're on the record saying these things were going to happen. And that's what I love about what we do, because honestly, I feel we have like a 95% track record of being correct on the stuff that we've put out there. We haven't had to retract anything. We haven't had any of that anonymous source, clickbait, BS, anything. And people are tuning in because there are people that do love true sports talk. And that's what I remember coming up listening to real sports talk radio. And that's what I wanted to bring back. And I'm glad this whole team formed and we're able to do that. And we love doing it. And we love the folks that's been with us through the whole 6 years, or the folks that's just joining on now, like on Robbie's Twitch feed. We appreciate it because we love doing it. We love bringing you the great sports.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that we had this opportunity and that we were able to put this all together. And yeah, I mean, I could talk about, our journey and all about it for hours, but let's get into some hockey talk first. And we'll definitely give some more thoughts after the hockey and when we get into the football and the baseball talk as our segue into basketball. In this show, we're going to talk all 5 sports. We're even going to get to DC United talk. So we're going to do it all on the 6-year anniversary and a March Madness hour-and-a-half long special, which I have got people from across not only the country, but from Canada joining us. I've got people from the West Coast joining us. So it's all over, people from Virginia, and it'll be really fun. So I thank everybody for joining. We've got a ton of people on our Twitch chat, and so I really appreciate everyone for sharing the love and joining us over there. But Anna, we talked about it last week. We were really hoping that we could have this amazing West Coast Canada swing.
Yes.
And we did. But how are you doing tonight? And then get into this first game.
I'm doing great. Like, I coming off of a birthday high. I celebrate my birthday almost like the whole month of March. I apologize. It looks like I am like tearing up and you guys talking about your show. I promise I am not being a softie. It's terrible allergies. So my eyes just keep watering for some reason. Anyways, it's like, well, probably because it was like 80 degrees one night and then like we had a snowstorm.
Get me started. Oh my goodness, the blizzard of the day after. I put a coat on and I look outside and it's snowing like it'd be back in December. It was crazy.
Agree. I mean, like, what the hell just happened? And happy birthday also to Liz, which is I think her birthday was a couple days after mine. Is that right, Robbie?
That is 100% correct. Yeah, she had a birthday yesterday, and
sweet.
It was not the crazy birthdays that we've had in the past. It was just a very quiet birthday with our kids. It's called parenting. Right, exactly. It was more about Zach experiencing the birthday than her birthday. So you have to learn as a 3-year-old that it's not all about you, but it's a tough lesson for some 3-year-olds for sure. But
it went crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some years he has gone crazy. Carol's seen him do his first time he saw a chocolate cake. I remember texting him that picture where he went nuts for it. So he's liked it for a while. But yeah, no, it was all good. And happy birthday to you as well. I know I said it privately, but I'm happy that you had a good birthday week, at least on the hockey front. And to get 5 out of 6 points, it's about as much as we could ask for on a very tough, swing against some really good teams. I mean. It's not like we beat some slouches on the road or whatever. So it's pretty impressive. But Anna, why don't you break down the scoring in our first game and then we can get into it.
Sounds good.
And I'm gonna go grab my notes because I left them in the other room.
There you go.
No problem. So last Tuesday, the Caps played 1 of 3 games of their Canadian road trip against. This one was against Calgary. The first period, the Flames scored the only goal at 9:40, and second period, the Flames scored the first goal at 8:54. But less than 2 minutes later, we have Connor Sherry. I don't know about you, Robbie, but I was ready for this. I was ready for a comeback. I knew he was going to do amazing. And I feel like when he's on a roll, he is on a roll. And I love it. So he got his 15th unassisted at 10:27. And then we go with the captain getting number 35 at 13:23, assisted by Kuzi, which tied it up 2-2. Third period, Calgary scores first again, but then the Caps, I don't know. I don't know if either one of you saw this game, but like, I don't know if you were kind of on the edge or if you were feeling like.
I watched this whole game for sure. But yes, it was a intense game.
It was. And it's like the next, like, you got like the next 10 plus minutes. And then we get a goal by Mantha, who, woo!
Yeah,
I was going to say.
I wore his merch tonight just because, and now it's limited edition. For some reason, they've taken it off the store. So we'll have to, if anyone's interested, they can comment in the comments for any of the posts where I posted it. If they want Mantha Ray merch, I will reactivate it. But for some reason, it's been deactivated. So the only 3 copies. Sim has one, my son has one, and I've got one. It's a very limited edition Mantha Ray merch. So
I mean, but like, welcome back.
He's been amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So we get his goal at 8:21. Nick Dowd gets his number 8 at 10:50, and Ovi gets number 36 at 18:12 with an empty netter. That's the, Yager tie. Everybody was celebrating. All 3 goals had assists by Jensen. To me, that was huge. Like, I needed to see a Nick Jensen, fantastic game, and this was it for sure. Calgary did score once more, but the Caps held them to a 5-4, and this was I don't usually do this for you guys, and because I do it for power play, but man, my 3 stars, Vanacek, Mantha, and Jensen. You could not ask for a better game from these players. So amazing, absolutely amazing. I loved and I feel like they came out and it was like they were ready to go. Like, it wasn't like a slacker first, kind of thing. They were going to come out and they were going to do what they wanted, because Calgary was going to come out strong and they were going to play 60 minutes.
Yeah, it was intense because, Carol, you give your thoughts first and then I'll give my take.
This was, as I said last week, this was going to be an interesting game. Calgary's top in the Pacific, one of the highest teams. They were 12-1 at home before the Capitals, got the victory. This was a gut check win. Like I said, going down 2-0, then tying it, then going back down, and then getting that empty net goal by Ovi was kind of crucial, because they did try to get 1 goal closer with like 39 seconds left. And lucky Ovi did get that empty net goal to give him a little bit of cushion. But Double V was phenomenal. 35 shot attempts, gave up 4 goals. The save percentage wasn't, pretty, but like I said, I think the team plays more confident in front of him, and I feel like he has the team's confidence, and he has confidence when he's out there, because ever since the shutout 2 weeks ago that he got, he's been, outstanding. There's been a couple of lapses, and but there haven't really been a lot of shaky goals that you say, hey, he should have had that. The goals that he's given up have been quality chances that, he didn't get. But, you can't say that for every goal he had. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
he was on fire.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting. I mean, obviously all hockey games have the ebbs and flows, but to be down 2-0 on the road, to have that resilience, to be able to score those 2 goals, for Ovechkin to tie it there, and then for him to, get an empty netter and almost another goal as well. He could have passed him all in, one game. And so it was funny because my friend, Janaea, who's in a lot of Caps groups, she went to this game and she called it, like, every game she's ever gone to, Ovechkin scored. He scored like 11 games. She's 10-1 in those games, including going to one of the Stanley Cup games. And I think she went to the final, like the actual one in Vegas. And so she called it, and then she was like, I'm also going to see Nick Backstrom hitting 1,000 points, but she wasn't going to the game that's in between in Edmonton. She lives in Vancouver, went to the thing. So she unfortunately missed, Nicholas Backstrom's one, by a game. And she was like, well, Ovechkin's definitely going to score now and break it in the next game that I go to, which is the one in Vancouver. and she didn't, but she did get to see a Kuzi hat trick. So, if that's the one game you don't see an Ovechkin goal, and that's still, and he almost had one, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But for me, the up and down in this game, and just I thought we were going to get that empty netter and it was going to be a sealed deal. And then they scored there at the very end to make it a little bit nerve wracking, but just a really solid third period to basically outscore them there like that. I thought was really great. And I was just impressed because Calgary is a tough place to play. So
exactly. I honestly, I think this was going to be one of the teams that I was like, I'm not really sure we're going to be able to take it. Johnny Hockey, is always going to impress, and he did. I mean, come on, he was a bit of a badass in this game. So who knew what was going to happen? But I was so happy they came out, because Calgary, I feel, came out. They're going to play 90 minutes. They're going to that's it. No joke. They're going to come out and play. And the Capitals kind of realized that, and we're like, okay, we need to also not just not do anything for a period and then try to make it up second and third. So I was happy to see this. It was good all around.
Definitely. Complete game. They weathered the storm, found a way to win, and got the job done, got the 2 points. That's a good way to start the road trip. And I was a little worried about, how much energy they exerted in this game going into the back-to-back with Edmonton. But let's go ahead and get into that Edmonton game, because that was another exciting game.
Absolutely. So the next day, the Caps played Edmonton. No goals in the first, which is surprising. But then Backstrom gets his fifth at 2:17 with assist by Mantha and Oshie. Again, awesome to see Anthony Mantha on the stats there. Oilers close out the second period with 2 goals, so now it's 2-1. And then at 6:13 into the third, Oshie scores the power play goal assisted by Backstrom and Carlson. Then we get the Oilers to score again at 10:31, and Oshie ties it up at 19:58, assisted by Carlson and Kuzi. We're thinking maybe we've got this. And then unfortunately going into overtime, you've got someone like a Connor McDavid. Damn it.
Well, I mean, they're 2 best scorers in the NHL right now on a 2-on-0 against your goalie. I mean, you're screwed. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. No one's going to stop that.
I think there could not have been one Caps fan that was like, oh, maybe. It's no, it's McDavid. Come on now. So he gets his 30th unassisted to give the Caps the 4-3 loss. But I will say, we talked about this last night in the Power Play Point podcast, that the frustration in the shots on goal, and I don't know how much you guys looked into it or not, but on that first period, you have the Caps with 9 shots on goal, but you have the Oilers with 20.
Yeah, I thought they had 20. I did see
what
that.
The hell?
I was putting Zach to bed, as I usually do during the first period, and I look at the shot. It pops up on my phone. Here's the shots from the first period. I'm like, wait, what? 20? That's not good. And people still shit on Sammy, but I'm like, if he took on 20 shots and nothing got through, then I know that later on he did give up some, and that's the frustration part with Sammy, is that there's some moments he's great, and then there's other moments where I know Carol will want to get into it, is rebound control, and so it's frustrating.
But that 20 shots, I mean, unacceptable. I mean, legit unacceptable. So hats off to Sammy on that one. The other 2 periods, I'm like, maybe not so much, but
you got to look at what I just, said going into it. They were coming off a tough game against Calgary. Edmonton had a day off. They're a fast team, and that first 10 minutes of the game is crucial when you're a road team, because that's when the home team is going to get that push, especially when they know you're going back to back. So they gave up 20 shots in the first period. but they only gave up 40 for the game. So that means over the next 2 periods, they only gave up 20 shots. So, I mean, I think you have to take that into account with, the sluggish start and with the way Edmonton was trying to jump on them. And I believe there were, I think it was a power play, maybe 2 in the first period that helped in that shot differential. But it was another gritty game by the team. I'll speak on Sammy after I give my synopsis of the game because I was upset about a couple of those goals that he let in. But ultimately, it comes down to you have to play solid defensively. You can't always depend on your goalie to bail you out in them odd man rush situations, but you do have to depend on your goalies, and as Robbie said, with your rebound control and controlling the shots that you should control. Oshie with the 2 goals, that goal with 1.8 seconds left on the clock to tie the game up to force overtime. That whole series of the way things look with like 11 seconds on the clock, the puck was just going around the outside. They couldn't get control of it. I'm still sitting there like, okay, you just need to get control of it. Still time. Boom, boom, boom. So when I saw that they finally got it in front, and Oshie got a clear shot from the dot, I was hoping it was going to go in, but that it was like a CNI puck. It just found a way to get through all of the sticks, all of the bodies, and top shelf. That was a sniper shot. And we talked about how much the team missed Oshie when he wasn't there. Just look at the impact he's had since he's been back, and he's not even fully back in hockey shape right now. He had a lot of time off, just like with Mantha. Mantha's been playing.
Yeah, great. I mean, that second line with Backstrom, like, give them time. I mean, that could be a top line on most teams. Like, and that's what I was trying to tell people. Like, I liked Vrana, and he's done amazing things. I know he's now broken a record with the Red Wings with like the fastest scoring of goals like ever by someone they've gotten to trade. But it doesn't matter. I mean, he was out for a considerable amount of time as well. So it's like great that he's had a first great 10 games, but he's already like 3/4 of the way through a season, so right. Like it's tough. Both of them have the same problem, and both of them are trying to get their groove back. And I'm just so happy. I think that it proves what I was trying to say last year and why I made merch about a guy so early on. People are like, why would you make merch about it? I was like, I believe in this guy. Yeah. I think Mantha Ray has got all the intangibles. I think, he's a big rig, could shoot, like he can open up space, and like he could create like Tom Wilson does on the top line for an Oshie and a Backstrom going forward. And I think that could be a lethal line down the stretch. What do you think, Carol?
I mean, definitely, because the top line is always going to get matched up with the top defensive pairing. And we always talk about secondary scoring, which means the second line too, because the second line is definitely going to have to be effective to take some of the pressure off of the first line. So then the coach is going to have to make a decision if the first line isn't, getting any points, but the second line is. Yeah. And if you're in a playoff series, he's going to, make that decision to put that first pairing on the, second line, and then your first line can get going because then they're on the second pairing. So it's the intangibles of having secondary scoring, and like you said, with Mantha and Oshie and Backstrom, I mean, you have skill, you have size, you have, you're really lacking in speed, but you make up for that with the skill and the solid defense that all 3 of those guys play. And with Mantha's X factor of being that big in front of the net presence, I mean, that's priceless, especially when it comes to playoff time. And the fact that they had someone, that's physical, that can be in front of you. Have someone like Oshie who's so versatile and can do so many things, just being in position, doesn't even have to have the puck to make things happen for the team. So I think that line is definitely going to be crucial going into the playoff stretch.
Yeah, for sure. I was bummed that we did not get, obviously, the 2 points in this game, but at one point I was like, we shouldn't get anything. So 1 point's better than 0 points. And I know we could be greedy and said, hey, he got there, anything can happen. But I mean, that's a dangerous 3-on-3 team. Yeah. There's a reason why, I'm just happy that 3-on-3 is not a playoff thing, because I mean, if you had to face that team in the playoffs 3-on-3, you'd lose a lot, right? So
I remember the Cavs had a chance before that to end the game, and unfortunately,
I know. Wasn't it Mantha Ray? I feel like
I believe it was.
Yeah. So And it was close too. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
off the inside of the post, like just like an inch to the left, and that's the game winner. So like, so that'll come with timing. So I'm happy that to have him have the experience, right? And that's the only way to learn.
Definitely.
So, all right, let's get into the next game, which was well, I do want to mention, I don't think we've talked about it enough that, Nicholas Backstrom still getting his 1,000th point, in 1,036 or 1,037 games or whatever it was. But it's like, that's almost a point per game. And especially if you think Ovi got 1,000 with him the night before and games played, it's approximately, I know that it doesn't even out exactly that way, to almost 1 point per game with Ovechkin, which is just an incredible thing for a duo. I mean, I was looking at stats. There's only one other duo in the modern era whose numbers come even close to them, and we definitely know who they are, and they're in Pittsburgh. So like, and that's it. I mean, in the last 15 years, those are the best duos. There's like not even a really close like third into that list. Like, people are talking a lot about Matthews and his future and stuff like that, but like, they're gonna have to put 10 years of work to get into where these guys are. And so like, they might be the best this year or whatever, but
You're never going to see a duo like Backstrom and Ovi.
No way.
Just the fact that what Ovi does, and just remember the way he started his career as a bull in the china shop, hitting everything, leading the league in hits sometimes, and still leading.
I mean, he's still top 10, Carol, almost every season in hits. I just want to put that in perspective. He has thousands of more hits than the next highest goal scorers out of the last 10 years. Thousands more, not hundreds, thousands.
He's so physical. He stays healthy, and he still is in the top 5 in scoring and goals. And this man is what, 34, 35 now?
And he leads the league in shots almost every season, which I know people are like, oh, if you shoot the most, you're going to score the most. First of all, that's not correct, because most teams won't let you shoot at the volume he does, because it would totally screw over your team stats, right? So you wouldn't allow one guy to like dominate the shots in the way that he does, but he does, and he still scores at an incredible clip with that many shots with that volume. It's just an incredible thing, but that still tires you out. If you're getting 6-7 shots a game, high quality, those are the ones that are getting through. Remember, there's more shots that hit people, that ricochet off things, that are doing damage to other players, that might not get picked up in the official shot counter. So it's pretty incredible for sure.
And for me, I'm just honored to be, oh my God, a fan watching history in the making. Like, this duo is, people are like, oh, it's a bromance. It's a little bit more than that. It's fantastic.
Still, one of my favorite commercials is the Nikki and Ovi with his wife commercial. That's still, whenever it comes on, man, I gotta watch it. And what's going to happen if something happens to me? Who's going to get in his points?
It's so true.
It's so true.
Too.
And I love the fact that the wife is like, she's spot on, and her facial expressions are, oh yeah. But the love between the two, the respect between the two.
What's so crazy is so much of their career, they actually aren't on the same line. People forget that. Like, they assume because the percentage of goals of Ovechkin that he got from Backstrom assists is still incredibly high, but that's because his power play volume, right? They've always connected really well on the power play, and Bruce Boudreau did put them on a line together. But over the course of their time together, there was time before they weren't, and time after, and when they won the championship, they weren't on the same line together. I was always convinced the only way they were ever going to win the cup is if those two were put on the same line, and we just have to hope that secondary scoring on the second line would manufacture. Like, I never in my wildest dreams thought we would win a cup with them on separate lines. I really didn't. And I was wrong.
Well, one of the main issues was that we didn't have a true second line center. We kept on trying to get that fit, trying to find that guy. So we had to have Nikki on the line with Ovi, or we had to shift them to the second line and put somebody in the plug to try to get some secondary scoring. So you have to give Kuzi, a shout out, because without him, excelling the way he did, and, being able to take some of the pressure off of Nikki, having to be that number one guy all the time. And I feel like that's improved his game, that he can, be on the second line, make things happen against not always the top defensive pairing. and Ovi can still do his thing against the top defensive pairing, and then you have a guy like Kuzi that can make things happen with, how slick he is with the stick. And then, you got Wilson most of the time up there. I still don't agree with them putting Sherry on the top line. It's not really in my book of, really works, and I don't feel like it's opportunistic for that first line. You want to have that speed, but if you don't have a presence, a physical presence on that line with Ovi, he normally stays out by the wing. He's not in front of the net, so he does get down there, and some of his goals, a lot of his goals are from in front of the net. But when you're playing the game that they're playing, you need that physical presence on each line, and Sherry being on the third line, it kind of works that way. So hope they don't experiment with that in the playoffs, because I'm not.
I can understand the thought process maybe to practice different matchups against certain teams, like sometimes where you might want a more physical player down on the third line and a faster guy, and sometimes you may need to shift it. And maybe that's not the idea that this for now, but maybe just trying stuff so that way it's not completely new to them in the playoffs. Because sometimes it's a chess game. Lines are going to have to be shuffled in the playoffs. The lines are rarely the same at the end of a playoff run that they are at the beginning. So I don't know the thought process. I'm not in the room, but it's possible that he's experimenting just to make sure that everybody's ready to play with everybody. And that his goal will still be to put Tom Wilson with Ovi in most circumstances, but wants to have the opportunity not to. Yeah. But I don't know. Well, why don't we get into the third game real quick? Because I know we're running late, but we'll talk hockey forever. So
always. And that's why I love this, you guys, because we can talk hockey forever.
Right.
But yeah, so Friday night, the Caps played Vancouver. Oh boy. First period, all about Kuzi. Fantastic. He scored at 5:34 with a deflection assisted by Jensen and Oshie, and scores a power play goal at 6:17 for his 18th, assisted by Ovi and Carlson. There were no goals in the second, so it was kind of like one of those games where you're like, oh my God, we've got this. And then here we go. Third period, Vancouver came out strong and scored 3 times in 5 minutes. I don't know about you guys, didn't see that coming, but
I missed it
for a good game. And making it 3-2 Vancouver, but at 15:07, Kuzi gets his Hattie with a power play goal at 15:07 to tie it up. I mean, crazy. And then at 42 seconds into overtime, Eller scores his 9th, assisted by Carlson and Wilson. So we get a win, 4-3. But I'll tell you, I didn't watch it live. I had to, because I was like, I'm old. I'm gonna record this game because it started at 10. But oh my God, Hattie for Kuzi. I didn't see it coming. I couldn't be happier. Absolutely fantastic. But I knew that this wasn't going to be just we're just going to win, oh, this is this is going to be so easy. This was a challenge, and I loved this game, watching it, of course, delayed, but it was good. I don't know if you guys saw it live at 10 o'clock at night.
I saw up until the second period, and after that, I had to be to work early. I don't, like I said, I didn't even see the 3 goals, because when I fell asleep, it was 2-0. Kuzi had scored 2. They thought Ovi had broke Yager had broken, past Yager. But Kuzi made contact before the puck fully went over, and then I saw the third goal, his hat trick. All 3 of his goals were in front of the net. The first one was a crazy goal. It was the dump in by Jensen, bounced off the stanchion. He just happened to be going by the front of the net, and it bounced off his shoulder into the net. The second goal was the Ovi took a shot from his office. Kuzi was there to clean it up. And the third one was a rebound on the power play, and we went in there and got the goal. So Kuzi showing some of his versatility, getting goals down by the net, down in front, in the down and dirty area. So that's good to see in that aspect. And then you were just mentioning Robbie, the 3-on-3 versus Edmonton. We saw solid defense. Tom Wilson forced a turnover. And then you had Carlson and Eller going 2-on-1 and perfect execution, game over 42 seconds into it. So it was a team game. They found a way to get the 2 points. They got out to an early lead after they had a day off after the back-to-back. I didn't really watch the 3 goals that they gave up. But like I said, they happened in 5 minutes. That's one of them. And being on the road and still finding a way to come through and get the 2 points and force overtime and get the 2 points after losing a 2-0 lead and going down 3-2. That just shows this team, has some, resiliency. And we saw that, in previous season when they won the championship. And we've seen the adversity throughout the season. We've seen the injuries. We've seen the call-ups and them excel. So we're seeing some of the same things we saw in that championship run back in 2018. And, being in the HC right now, they have a comfortable, I believe it's like a 10 or 11-point lead over the next team for the wild card, so in the 8th spot. So they have a comfortable lead. They have room to improve, but they don't really have no heat on them to, make them feel like they have to press or anything, so they can get chemistry at their own pace, keep playing the way they're playing. And I see some good things happening down the road as long as we still continue to get solid goaltending from Double V. And when Sammy gets in there, hopefully some of these leaky goals will start to not go in.
Actually, I have a question for both of you in regards to the lack of Tom Wilson not even minutes, but the fact that he wasn't talked about so much in these 3 games. Do you think it's because he might have been injured, or do you think it's I don't know? Gil and I kind of speculated yesterday on our show that he was recovering from some kind of injury and they gave him minimal minutes, because we definitely did not see a lot of number 43 on the ice in these 3 games. And I'm just wondering what you guys thought.
Well, he did get nicked up, I think, in the second game where he took a hit, and I think he had the wind knocked out of him. Might have had a minor upper body injury or whatever. He was out, and he came back in. So that might just be, from that, because he's a physical player, and sometimes the other players get the best of the shot sometimes. And I just think that might, play into it. I really wouldn't be too concerned about it. He's played a lot of minutes. He's a physical guy. Sometimes you got to cut back minutes on some guys to keep him healthy and keep him, fresh going down the stretch. So, I wouldn't look too much into it right now.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process is, well, I'm happy that we got the victory. I really don't care how it happened, and I do understand that we had to probably limit some minutes, especially in such an intense road trip with overtimes and just very physical games and very close games as well. But that first goal by Kuzi, I just can't, I want to go back to that for a second, just it's bouncing off the stanchion, then off of him. Yeah. And I think he shot it initially, and I don't know how, I watched it like 10 times. I still don't understand how he scored that goal, but he did. And then
deflection.
Yeah, and then 46 seconds later, it should have been Ovi's goal. It should have been that moment, and he swiped at it. And it's funny because Janaea's girlfriend took a wrong turn and they weren't in the stadium yet, and so he saved her from missing the legendary goal, right?
Oh, God.
So it's kind of funny that it worked out in her advantage. But and then obviously Kuzi getting the hat trick was very important because it was a very necessary goal. But I'm just happy that we were overall able to come away with a victory. Again, we could have lost 2, if not all 3 of these games easily if we showed some resilience here. And I'm really excited. I know that we're running low on time.
Yes.
But which we could go on talking hockey forever. Anna, real quickly, let people know about the Power Play Point podcast, and then I'm going to give a quick schedule update, and then we're going to let you go.
Absolutely. We record the Power Play Point Power Play Point podcast on Sundays around 5 o'clock. We're always looking for callers to call, contact Gil and I on our Facebook page. I think this whole month we are all about celebrating women's history. So hopefully we'll get more callers in. We had a fantastic last 2 weeks, and we're just always looking for more female hockey fans to call in and, give us your opinion and talk to us about how you got involved in the game, if you played, whatever it is. So that's where we are. And like Robbie has said before, you can find us on Robbie, you're going to have to go off and list the whole.
Yes. If you go to the podcast partners page,
yes.
Go to sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners, click the Power Play Point podcast. It has all the podcasts from all the different guests that will be on our show tonight. And but I really appreciate you. Carol, any final thoughts on that game before I go in the upcoming schedule?
No, let's go ahead and get his upcoming schedule.
Okay, so we're not going to get into the games. I'm just going to list them off. So we're going to play the Islanders on Tuesday at 7. We're going to go to Columbus at 7 on Thursday. Friday, we go play Carolina. Eddie Brown just gave a huge sub donation to me, gifting 5 plus his own 6 subs to me. So I really appreciate that. We're doing a subathon over on Twitch. So I appreciate you. He just said that the Penguins unfortunately beat Carolina. So I'm sorry about that. We'll play Carolina in Carolina on Friday, March 18th at 7. Sunday, March 20th versus Dallas at 5 o'clock. That's a home game. And then Tuesday, March 22nd, we're playing St. Louis at 7. And then the last week that we're out, it's Friday, March 25th at Buffalo, who just won a big outdoor game. So that was interesting. People should go check out the Heritage Classic. It was an interesting matchup where they beat Toronto. So they'll play that at 7 o'clock at Buffalo on Friday. And Saturday, March 26th, we're playing the Devils at 7 at home. And then Monday, March 28th, aka the last Monday that we're not on, they'll play Carolina at 7, this time in Washington. And then we're playing Minnesota also at home on Sunday, April 3rd at 7. So we'll go over the last couple of those games next time I see you. We'll go through all the scores, but then we'll just break down the last 3 or 4 games before that on our season 7 premiere, which is the next time we'll talk, which will be on April 4th. People don't know. But Anna, thank you so much as always for joining us. And I will let Carol talk a little bit of football while I let my dog out.
All right. Go ahead and get into go ahead, Anna, what you want to go ahead and
I was just going to say, thank you so much. Congrats on the 6th season. I apologize for the allergy eyes. I'm like, oh, it's the worst than the medication, but go Caps. Congrats to you both, and have a great show.
All right. Appreciate it as always. And see you in a couple of weeks when we come back for season 7. All right. I'm going to get into some quick NFL notes since today was the official start of the signing period for free agents and everything. Got to start off with the Washington Commanders making a trade for Carson Wentz earlier in the week. Today it became official. They gave up a second, a third, and a conditional third in next year, depending on the percentage of snaps that Wentz takes. $22 million against the cap this year. If they decide to cut him next year, he's a 0 cap hit. So I know a lot of folks are upset about the $22 million number, but man, to me, it's a sensible move. He's an upgrade over Taylor Heineke. I know a lot of folks won't agree with that. It is what it is. All I can say is wait and see till we get on the field. Also, Washington lost Tim Settle today. He actually signed with the Bills for 2 years. Brandon Sheriff actually signed with Jacksonville. Terms haven't been released yet. Deshaun Watson has been cleared of his charges and has started the process of making a decision on where he wants to go because he does have a no trade clause, which is another reason why we got Carson Wentz, because he stated last year that he would not waive his no trade clause to come here. So make that as you will. I'm not getting into that conversation. I've had it all week. He's talking to New Orleans and Carolina as of right now. Devontae Adams of Green Bay is rejecting his franchise tag offer of $20 million. He said he is not going to sign it after we saw Aaron Rodgers get his 4-year, $200 million deal. That's going to be interesting. I'll definitely stay on top of that because during this 2-week hiatus, we're still going to have our Washington off-season and pre-draft show, Dujane and myself. So stay tuned. We're coordinating schedules now, so we'll definitely break down the Washington roster with some of the other moves that's been made. I'm going to continue to go over a few more before we get into the NBA talk. Big news of yesterday, Tom Brady unretired after 2 months of retiring and is going back to Bay. Mitch Trubisky signed a 2-year deal with Pittsburgh today. Amari Cooper of Dallas was traded to Cleveland, and pending that, Jarvis Landry requested permission to seek a trade. Nobody bid on it, so Cleveland released Landry today. Khalil Mack was traded to San Diego for a second round pick this year and a 6th round pick next year. The Raiders extended their defensive end Max Crosby 4 years, $94 million, I'm thinking. I wrote, it looks like 94. I hope it was 94. Troy Apke signed a 1-year deal re-signed with Washington. Kurt Moneybag Stat Patter Cousins signed a 1-year, $35 million extension.
How? I saw that come across. How do they keep paying him the money?
To lower his cap number. Think about that.
I know.
They gave him a $35 million contract to lower his cap number. Just think about that. So, yeah, his agent, I wish I was still playing because he would be my agent, because Kurt is almost a billionaire at this point with the money he got out of these teams without having no success in the playoffs. But that's another show in itself. Zach Ertz signed a 3-year deal with Arizona to stay there. There was some word of him, Washington trying to reach out to get him. Michael Gallup of Dallas signed a 5-year, $62 million deal. Washington also re-signed the backup center Tyler Larson to a 1-year deal. Ex-Washington football team Redskin and commander Preston Smith signed a 4-year, $52 million deal with Green Bay. And that's pretty much all I have right now. Oh, Teddy Bridgewater signed with Miami, a 1-year deal, I believe. So, as I said, free agency just starting. Washington has some movement. Also, Washington cut Landon Collins. That'll save them another $8 million under the cap because he's at $9 million cap hit. He had a $17 million contract, so it's $9 million in dead money due to the cancellation of the contract early. And now we don't have to worry about giving Brandon Sheriff for $18 million or $20 million, whatever they offer him to be the highest paid guard in the league. He's now Jacksonville's problem. So, as I said, stay tuned for our Washington football team free agency and pre-draft show within the next 2 weeks before season 7 starts. Me and Dujane are going to break it down. He goes to the North-South game, the Senior Bowl, and has all the inside information on all the college guys because, I don't watch college. And then, we're going to break down free agency and talk the draft before the draft. And, we're going to talk about the players we pick after the draft. So, as always, appreciate y'all checking us out for our football coverage and our hockey coverage. And I know Robbie's about to get into the...
Well, before we do, I do want to talk about some of the baseball moves. I'm going to bring Brian Brennan in because I know he's excited about baseball returning. So that'll be our segue. Hi, Brian. Welcome back to the show. And I'm sure that you're super excited that baseball is back and the lockout wasn't as long as some of us feared it might be.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Congrats on 6 years. I'm happy the lockout is over. It felt really long to me, honestly, but I'm a huge baseball fan. But it was 90 plus days. I think it was 99 days exactly, and it's done. And now free agents can sign with wherever they want. And spring training is about to start.
Hey, man, this universal DH thing, man.
Yes. Yes, what a great idea.
Start right off the bat.
I got to. I know he's been basking in it for the last couple of days, enjoying because I know he wanted this debauchery in the National League. And I just I just don't like it, man. I just don't. That's why I like the National League is different from the American League. And then when you get to the World Series, it throws an intangible in it. When you go to the National League as a visitor, your pitcher has to hit. And when the National League goes to America, they have to find someone for a DH that's normally not being in that position. So it throws a nice little spin on it now. Universal DH.
Well, I mean, you know how I feel about it, CP3. I mean, I've always wanted a universal DH in baseball. I'm tired of pitchers hitting. Most pitchers can't hit for shit, honestly. They go up there, they see 3 pitches, usually 3 strikes in a row, and they're done. And so far, the universal DH has helped the Nationals. They went out and they signed Nelson Cruz, who can really only play as a DH. And I think Nelson Cruz is going to be a huge addition for the Nationals. I love that pickup for the Nationals, actually. So I think the universal DH is only going to benefit your team. And I think it's only going to be a good thing for baseball moving forward. I am so done with pitchers hitting. It had to go. It was awful. They're not like just because Bartolo Colon hit a home run one time, we need to see these pitchers hit. Like, come on. No, the universal DH is great for baseball. That's one of the things I'm glad came out of this lockout. And like I said, helps the Nats because they just signed Nelson Cruz, who's I think a great DH.
Right. And also real quickly, we all hated the extra runner as part of the, so, it's,
Manfred Ball.
Yeah. I'm happy that part is gone.
Then the shift that didn't you say banning shifts in 2023?
Yeah, it starts next year. Yeah.
That's going to be why. I mean, I understand some teams overshift and analytics, this and that, but to take completely out of the game, that's kind of crazy to me. What do you think?
I agree with you there. I would have done like maybe a partial removal of the shift. I don't think the shift is all bad, but I would have done maybe like a complete, instead of like having them completely shift, I would have done like maybe you can do like a partial shift where you have like an infielder halfway over. I don't think there's any need to ban like the shifts completely. I agree with you there.
Yeah, that's to me that's just getting a little crazy right there to ban it.
Yeah.
Outright, that's I know it's an issue with some of the shifts because they always highlighting on, well, look, there's nobody right here. There's just so much space. If he just hits the ball right there, he can get a hit. But that's the nuance of the game. That's what the game is right now. Analytics and playing to the numbers, and he average hits it this fast on this pitch and this count. I mean, with baseball, you got so many damn stats. You need a whole different, part of the team just to track the stats. So I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do to the game. I know they're trying to speed it up, so that might be another aspect of it, with all the shifting and everything. But I don't know. Some of these changes I like, and some of them I don't. But you got to take the good with the bad. So I miss baseball also. So I can't. I'm happy that it's over, and I can't wait to cover some Nats baseball when we come out of our little 2-week hiatus. Because I do miss some baseball.
Same here, man.
Yeah, so I think the plan is going forward, we'll talk hockey, and then just like this, we'll then segue into baseball, and then we'll end our night with our Wizards talk segment. Just going forward to give people a sense of how season 7 will roll. And then obviously we'll have updates about the Commanders. I want to call them the football team. It's throwing me off. Now we call them 3 different things, but like the Commanders, when we talk about them, we'll do their news either at the top or at the end before we get into basketball. But I'm excited to get baseball talk back on. That's always been our marker. We always start the season with baseball season. So I was really kind of nervous that might not happen this year. So I'm happy that it's going to. But Carol, any final thoughts before we let you go? And then I'll bring the rest of the guys in to do an abbreviated, quick Wizards segment.
Like I said, as always, appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a great 6 years. We're working on some bigger and better things, trying to take Sports on the Hill to a different level, get more folks involved. Not saying we don't love the folks that we have been following through the whole 6 years, but we would love to broaden and open up our social media family and our family, of sports to everyone. So appreciate y'all. As always, tuning in. Make sure you check out the website, SportsOTHP, for all the latest content, apparel line, podcast partners. Robbie's like to bring on his crew. I want to thank all of them. DC's People Champ, Arun, Tim, and all the other guys you got on Twitch coming on. I just appreciate it. Like you said, it started from the post on Facebook. It started from Big Hurt having me on, for me writing for a small blog, Big Hurt. contacted me, asked me to come on his show, came on his show a couple of times, turned that into, Sports on the Hill with just me and Robbie. Now we got a team of over 15, 16, covering everything from boxing, MMA, Olympics.
Carol, it's so cool. EJ's coming back on in a few minutes. I just think that's so cool that, MMA, a callback to that, show, and, all the different, boxing shows that you did with him over the years. And, people don't, because, Twitch is, seeing the growth of the last year or two, but, we've done a lot of different things over the 6 years and tried a lot of different stuff. And I think it's, kind of cool, all those years of, mixed martial arts and all that stuff.
Yeah, but stay tuned. We got another boxing special in the works. A local boxer that I actually am a co-worker with at another dealership. I just met him this past week. In the works of getting him on the show, and his son is actually an ex-Washington, I guess, commander, we can say, that used to play for the team. So be on the lookout. I'm trying to see if I can work some things. We always have a big guest every season. This past year, we've had a couple of big guests. We had Gabe Taylor on, Sean Taylor's little brother, the week that his number got retired. And, years before, we had Julie Donaldson on the season before, Grant Paulson, Doc Walker. I'm working on getting Doc back on also, and a couple of other folks. So stay tuned. That's what I say. We're trying to grow and expand and take it to a whole nother level, and, get some validity out here in these sports media streets, because there's some folks out here that shouldn't be on the air. But like I said, that's another show. I'm going to keep it on a good note.
Yeah, we'll end it on a good note. That we've come a long way, Carol. We're streaming 4 different shows simultaneously to different communities around the world, and it's pretty cool. We've been able to definitely leave our stamp in the first 6 years, and there's no stopping us now. Season 7 just starts in 2 weeks, so it's we'll have new plans and new ideas every single show. So I'm excited to see where this goes. But Carol, thank you as always for being a partner of this. I hope that you have a wonderful night, and I will continue on the train. It's going to be a long, probably another 2 hours of the show, but I hope that you have a good night, and we'll definitely talk more soon.
All right, y'all have a good 2 weeks off. If you're still checking out my feed, I'm gonna play some videos at the end. I'm gonna let Robbie G and Brian and the NBA Roundtable take care of their business and get off of their feed. So y'all have a good night, and I'll holler back at y'all next time, man.
Sounds good. Thank you, Carol. And so, yeah, we'll bring in the rest of the team. We got Champ, we got Tim in the house as well. I'm going to bring in Champ next. He's been modding and hanging out with all the cool people on Twitch. I think his camera is still up. There he is. Now it's working. All right. How you doing, Champ?
I'm a bit sad. One of the wrestlers I grew up with that was from my childhood passed away today, and so I'm very sad, very sad. But other than that, I'm here. I'm ready to talk basketball.
So who was it? I'll just ask that part of it.
Razor Ramon, Scott Hall.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Suffered 3 heart attacks the other night from complications of hip surgery. Was on life support, and they took him off life support around noon today. And the announcement that he passed came out about an hour or 2 ago. I'm
so sorry, Champ. That sucks. That's these surgeries are, not, things happen, on them, and it's just it's devastating, and it's disappointing. But we'll try to pick you up with some basketball talk, and we've got a lot to break down today, including a live game that's just about to start. So a lot to break down with that. And Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Happy anniversary. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys joining me and being a part of this. Tim, you were one of our first people to join in, and now we bring in Arun, who was a guest on episode 2, where we also talked March Madness way back when, 6 years ago. So I'm excited that Arun's joining us as well. How are you doing tonight, Arun?
Pretty good. I have a dog on my couch as well, like you, Robbie.
It's true. It's true. Mine's now roaming the man cave. So we'll see if she settles back down or what she ends up doing. She's a puppy, so it's hard for her to sit still. But I appreciate your dog memes as always. And let's just get into it real fast. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second, because I'm going to have to do some fiddling to get it to work correctly. And let me just see. That's March Madness. There we go. That's the schedule. And then I need to go back over to here and click that button. It should. Hold on, let me see. Why is it not working? Hold on, for some reason, let me stop sharing. Sorry. For some reason, my Zoom feed stopped on. It's so weird. I've never had that happen before. It just like stopped the screen share of that. Let me see if I can get it back. So the audio is still working. And then just see something real quickly. All right. That's so weird. Let me see if I can re-import the source real fast.
Zoom is broken.
Yeah, I know. It's
broken.
All right, let me see if I can I know that that's happened before one time, but I thought that it wouldn't happen here. That's weird. All right, well, it's still working on Facebook, so that's good. And let me just see if I can get it to fix. So sorry, give me 1 second and I will try to re-add the source. Sorry. Well, while I do that, you guys, what can I have? Why isn't this working? Hold on. Sorry.
Live tech support only on Sports on the Hill podcast.
Exactly. Nope, that's not gonna work. That's a display catcher. All right, we'll try.
Broke like the Wizards this whole week.
Yeah, exactly.
This week was rough. This week was rough. Ooh.
All right, I think I fixed it though. So that's something.
Yep, you fixed it. I can see it.
I'm gonna have to fix the source, but hold on. So at least that was a good start. So hold on, let me just. People get to watch this. Yeah, you make a browser overlay and this program. Fun times. All right, let me just expand this a little bit, and there we go. We're back. Awesome. All right, let me shift one last thing, and then we will chat here. All right. So there we go. Now I got all you guys on the screen. All right, let's get into these games. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, so let's start off with the Clippers game. So it started off pretty close. The Washington Wizards, were outscored the Clippers by 1 in LA in the first, and then LA outscored by 3 in the second. The Wizards outscored them by 4 in the third, but then the Clippers had a really good fourth quarter and outscored them 32-24. I'm going to start off with Tim. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is a tough game for the Wizards because the Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, but Reggie Jackson just really killed them and had over 30 points and a really big fourth quarter. So the Wizards definitely had their chances in this game, could have won. Porzingis played pretty well, but he missed a big shot at the end of the game that could have tied it. So that was a bit disappointing. Overall, the Wizards, they could have won this game. The Clippers are very up and down, but clearly they still have a lot of talent. And the Wizards just are kind of on the edge, and they needed to win a game like this to stay in contention for that play-in game. And this was just kind of the start of a bad week, losing games that were definitely winnable.
Yeah, Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, the Clippers, again, they came back from behind in the fourth quarter. The previous time, it was the second largest comeback in NBA history. This time wasn't as big of a choke job, but the Wizards were still outscored 12-0 in the final quarter. And in the final 2:37, the Wizards didn't even score. Neto started the game, but he couldn't contain Reggie Jackson, as Tim mentioned, had over 30 points. And the Clippers complete the season sweep over the Wizards.
Yeah. And in both games, like, yeah, it sucks that they came back in both. But anyway, all right, go. I'm going to let Tim, wait, sorry.
I already went.
Yeah, you already went. And so, Champ, what are your thoughts on it?
Once again, I was hoping that the third quarter would be the catalyst for this team to be able to win. They actually outscored them in the third, but the fourth quarter is where it bit them in the behind. They just let it all fall apart. Marcus Morris just absolutely went off along with Jackson. So when you have two guys that score over 25 points in a game like this, then it's kind of hard to win games like this. So very disappointing. I kind of thought they were going to win this one, and they didn't.
Yeah. And Brian, what were some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think we all thought this was one of the more winnable games of the road trip, along with the Portland game. They ended up winning neither of those games. Again, the Clippers come back, like you guys said. Not as historic as the first time they came back against the Wizards this season, but still a good comeback. For the Wizards to not score in the last 2 minutes and 37 seconds of the game is really unacceptable. And yeah, like you guys said, Reggie Jackson was great. Marcus Morris was great. Wizards waste a good game from Kristaps. I thought a good game from Rui Hachimura off the bench as well with 18 points. Neto really had no answer for Reggie Jackson, like you guys said. And yeah, a winnable game slips through the Wizards' hands.
For sure. All right. So I got everybody, right? I'm sorry. I switched a camera view, and so I threw off the order, and then I'm like, now I didn't remember the order that I did. But I think I got all of you, right? In that game? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's get into the next game. And it was the against the Lakers. So it was tied after the first 26. The Wizards actually outscored them by 7 in the second, and then the Lakers went on a huge tear in the second half, outscored them 37-23 in the third, and then 33-27 in the fourth. And I know that LeBron went off in this game for 50. I'll start off with Champ. What were your thoughts on this game?
You couldn't stop LeBron James, and you couldn't contain him either. King James scores 50. Lord have mercy. And not only was the third quarter devastating for this team, but the second half of this game just did not go the Wizards' way. And it also did not help that LeBron James suddenly was on fire in here. Malik Monk also added in 21. Look at Russell Westbrook. Jesus Christ, man, has he fallen off? Anyway, this was tough. This was tough. But I think we all figured that this was the game they were going to lose. We just didn't know it was going to be a loss where LeBron James would have 50. Kristaps Porzingis did have a double-double, but LeBron James scored 50. What else are you going to do with this situation? Bad loss.
Yeah, for sure. Just want to give a quick little scoring update. The game did just start. There's 10 minutes left in the first quarter. Golden State took a 5-0 lead before Washington just got a bucket back. But they're shooting free throws. Golden State is, that is. So that's going to be a tough matchup that we'll be kind of looking in throughout the night at. All right, next up, we're going to go to Tim. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this was another tough loss for the Wizards. We really thought that they could win at least one of two in LA, but LeBron had 50 points. It seems like his whole career he's really gotten up for games against Washington. I think it goes back even to the Gilbert Arenas days when he was really young, and those playoff rivalries, they weren't really that close, but they were very competitive, and I think there's still some bad blood, and he just doesn't like Washington. So that's interesting. But KCP and Kuzma came back to LA. They had their tribute videos. Kuzma played pretty well, but he seems like he's getting kind of tired now that he's the first scorer, and KCP didn't play very well in this game. Besides that, I thought Kispert has looked really good, and he's been a really nice pick. And just Denny's like not really scoring and playing a ton, but all in all, just a very disappointing loss. And I just think the Wizards are kind of aimless right now. Porzingis looks decent, but he's still on a minutes restriction, so they can't really get the most out of him yet. But just another loss they can't afford if they want to get into the playoff race.
For sure. Kispert just got a dunk, which I thought was surprising. All right, we're gonna go next to Arun. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think this was kind of a winnable game for the Wizards in the second half. They were up by 7 points to start the quarter, but then LeBron James, as everyone mentioned, he went off. He's the oldest player to have multiple 50-point games since Bernard King did it with Washington in the 1990-91 season. And the only other player that scored 50 points who is older is Michael Jordan with Wizards. But the Lakers, they're not a very good team right now. In fact, they've only won two of their last 9 games, and both of those games LeBron had 50 points. So, and Russell Westbrook was pretty awful in this game. He did have 9 assists, but he's pretty awful shooting from the field. He's only been shooting 9% from 3-point range since the All-Star break. I think LeBron was motivated because this was the team that they traded Kyle Kuzma and KCP along with Harrell, who the Wizards traded away. But just overall, LeBron seems to get it going against the Wizards. And the Lakers, they're playing for a playoff spot. They have the same number of wins as the Wizards, but the West is weaker, and the Wizards definitely needed this win more than the Lakers to even just make the play-in game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought the West would be worse than the East, but I mean, that's what we're sort of seeing here. So speaking of the Wizards, they're actually Kuzma just got back-to-back baskets to make it 8-12 after Golden State had gotten a 3. And some big rebounds, 3rd rebound in a row defensively for the Wizards, and one and done's here as they drive up. They got the ball stolen by them, and it's a reach and foul. It'll be side out. Yeah, it's been an interesting matchup so far in this Golden State game. I'm going to go to Brian. Final thoughts on this game.
Oh, yeah, I'll just echo what everybody said about LeBron and how great he is still. Even though he's getting up there in age, he's still out there really playing at a really high level. He just became the first player in NBA history to get 30,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebounds in a career, which is insane. Nobody's ever done that before in league history, and he's the first. So, yeah, this guy is a freak. I don't know how long he's going to continue his career, but he's still playing at a high level. Yeah, I thought the Wizards wasted good game from Kuzma and Kispert, and Kuzma's return to LA. I thought Kispert played really well in this game as well. It was another game that was probably winnable for the Wizards, but when LeBron takes over like that, it's hard to stop. And the Lakers are bad, like Arun said. They're really not a very good team this year, but they've been very disappointing. A lot of people picked them to be in the finals at the beginning of the year, and they've just been extremely underwhelming. So they need every win they can get to stay in the playoff race, and so this was a good win for them. Bad loss for the Wizards.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get into this last game real fast. So it started off really bad. The Wizards kind of, I think, lost a lot of energy from the previous 2 games, and they were only able to put up 26 points. And defensively, they allowed 38 in the first. They allowed 34 in the second. So they were already behind pretty badly. They did make a run at it in the third, outscoring 37-31, and outscoring 27-24. But by that point, it was still already a 9-point lead by the end of the game. And so I just feel like they do this sometimes where they dig themselves too big of a hole early on in the game. They just can't get themselves out of it, even with a decent second half. I'll start off with Brian, and we'll go in reverse order. Brian, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm going to steal Arun's thunder and say the Wizards were absolutely cooked by Josh Hart, who's from Silver Spring, and he went to Villanova. He had 44 points in this game for the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are not the same team they've been over the last couple of years. They traded C.J. McCollum. Damian Lillard is out for pretty much the entire season. This is a game the Wizards should have won. But like I said, Josh Hart absolutely cooked them out of nowhere in this game. The best game of his career, 44 points. Just looking at the box score on my end here, KCP had a good game. He had 26 points for the Wizards in 32 minutes. Kuzma had another good game with 22. But even on the road, second night of a back-to-back, I would expect the Wizards to win this game. Portland, like I said, they're not what they were over the last couple of years. So once again, I know I sound like a bit of a broken record this week, but another disappointing loss for the Wizards.
For sure. I mean, it's hard not to sound like a broken record when their West Coast trip was the opposite of what the Capitals one was. So Arun, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Josh Hart, 44 points. He also went to Sidwell Friends School, so he had a great game. And I think, given that it was a back-to-back game, I think this game was actually less winnable than the Lakers game in retrospect. And even though Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum, I mean, CJ was traded for Josh Hart. I don't think that trade's going to end up that well for the Pelicans because they also gave up some draft picks. And I think the Wizards, they were kind of reeling. Lots of heat on Wes Unseld Jr. for only playing Daniel Gafford 14 minutes and Rui also not getting a lot of minutes. But I think they're going to have to earn it. They didn't really exactly play that well in the first half, being outscored. They gave up over 70 points. And this game didn't even feel that close compared to the Lakers game where the Wizards were winning at halftime. The Wizards were down by almost 20 points in the first half. So this game wasn't that close, and this loss was kind of expected.
Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough to win back-to-back with the travel in there too, but just this Portland lineup was like really, really bad JV team. Not only, everybody mentioned Lillard hurt, the trades. Anthony Simmons is probably their best player right now. He didn't play. Bledsoe didn't play. Nurkic didn't play. Some guy named Drew Eubanks crushed the Wizards. So they just didn't play hard in this game. And Unseld is really mad at their defensive effort, pretty much most of the season, but especially in this game. So I know they're tired, but if there's not really energy, there's a lot of guys that can play, and it's just if it's an effort thing and an energy thing, it's probably the coach's fault. But it's not what you want to see, and they really could have at least salvaged the trip with a good win, but they just had zero energy. So just bad game. And like Arun said, it could have been way worse on the scoreboard.
Yeah. So it's a crazy back and forth here. Avdija with the bucket. Washington's now down only 3. Golden State is up by 17-14 score right now. So they're hanging in there tough in this first quarter. Both teams, are playing, pretty well at times, and there's other times where less well. But Denny had a nice lay in there. It's 5:37 left in the first quarter. Again, and they're up 17-14 in that one. Brian, any is it? Yeah, Brian is next, right?
I already went.
Oh, you already went. Oh, you guys, I think one of you guys turned off your camera and it threw me off. Champ, what were your thoughts?
This team was down 72-54 at the half. The third quarter and the fourth quarter didn't even matter at that point. I'm going to be very blunt. They absolutely got pooped on by this JV team, as Tim called them. I don't understand it. Yes, you're coming off a back-to-back. I get it. But come on, guys. I don't even think Portland Trailblazer fans know who these people are. And they pooped on y'all. Bad game. Bad defensively. Josh Hart went in there and absolutely destroyed y'all right off of a night after LeBron destroyed you. Oh, man. It's getting harder and harder to tell people that this is a decent Wizards team when they go into a game like this against literally nobodies and just get destroyed. The score doesn't even indicate how badly they lost, period.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get into this upcoming schedule. I'm not going to get all of your guys' thoughts on each of these games, but I'm just going to run through it real fast. So they're playing the Warriors right now. We've been talking about it. They will then play the Nuggets at home on Wednesday at 7. Then they play Brian's Knicks at 7:30 on Friday in Madison Square Garden. Then the Lakers come to town the next night on Saturday, March 19th. And then next Monday, the Wizards go to Houston for an 8:00 game. And then they go to Milwaukee on Thursday. So a little bit of a break in between that. Then another back-to-back situation where they play at the Pistons. And then the Warriors come to town on Sunday, March 27th. The Bulls come to town on the 29th at 7. The Magic come on March 30th. The Mavericks on April 1st. And then the last game before we come back will be the Wizards at the Celtics. That's April 3rd at a 1 p.m. game. And so we'll be back. That's on a Sunday, and we'll be back the next day. So we'll go through all the scoring of those games when we come back, but we will only break down, let's say, probably the last 4 games of it. But at this point, I want to get your guys' thoughts going into that schedule in the next 2 weeks. This is an interesting time. We can take a final push to make it to the playoffs, but you don't want to just miss it by like a game. So I feel like, this is a very telling next 2 weeks. So I'm going to jump out of the screen share real fast, and I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on it, on the roundtable, and your final takeaway. And then we're going to get into some college basketball talk here in just a moment. I'm going to start off with Brian. What are your thoughts going forward for this team? What do they have to do over these next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm looking at the schedule, and I think there are some winnable games upcoming for the Wizards. I am a Knicks fan, but I will admit they can probably win that Knicks game with the way the Knicks have been playing over the course of this season. The Rockets game is winnable. The Pistons game is winnable. The Magic game is winnable. I wouldn't rule them out against the Celtics, even though the game's in Boston. There are some tough games. Denver, the game on Wednesday is going to be tough. With Nikola Jokic, they just beat a really good Sixers team tonight in Philly. The Bucks game, obviously they're defending NBA champions. The Warriors, who they're playing right now, obviously they have to play them again in DC. It's kind of a mixed bag schedule, but I do see some wins in there for the Wizards. I hope they don't win the game as a Knicks fan against us, but I can see them winning that one. I definitely see some wins in here for the Wizards upcoming.
And you think they should go for it to the playoffs, or what? I mean,
like I said last week, I think the top 10 teams are pretty set. I don't see the Wizards making a push for it really at this point. I think the 10 teams that are in position for the playoffs in the East will be the 10 teams that end up making the playoffs and the play-in. So as long as they can just get a couple wins, they can build some momentum for the rest of the season. That's pretty much all you can ask for.
Got it. All right. I'm going to go to you next, Champ. What are some of your thoughts on the upcoming schedule?
As much as Brian is downplaying his own team, that game scares the absolute crap out of me, because it'll be that game where we come in like, oh yeah, we're going to win this one. They're not playing very good. And then they turn around and absolutely crap on us and MSG. So that game scares me a lot. So I'm not, it looks like a winnable game, but it scares me. I see at least 5, maybe 6 wins out of this 2-week stretch, but 5 or 6 wins in this 2-week stretch is not enough to make a push to that 10th seed or higher. They need to take all of the games that are possibly winnable on this stretch and actually win them by playing defense, getting quality scoring. They're starting to improve their 3-point shooting, but it's still around 40%, which is still not going to be enough to beat a lot of these teams who are shooting over 40, maybe 50% from beyond the arc. So they have 4. I see 5 or 6 wins, but that's probably not going to be much in terms of the playoff.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I'm trying to figure out. So Tim, you're going to leave us right after this segment. So I'll let you give your final thoughts and let you say your goodbyes. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, in terms of the Wizards, I do think it would be better off to tank. I mean, I think like most people on the show, they're probably going to continue to more or less trade wins and losses for the next couple weeks and not really make any dent in the deficit to make the playoffs, but not fall too far behind. I think the most important thing is they need to show improvement. They need to play way harder and just let people gel, let Porzingis play with different rotations, let the rookies and the young guys play more minutes, let Thomas Bryant play a little bit more and Gafford. So I don't think wins are as important as just figuring out who can play together for next year and making sure that Unseld can get the most out of his players and get that effort. Because they're not likely to get in, and it would be better really to just get the best draft pick possible at this point, because even if they get through the play and they're not going to beat the 1 seed. So, but yeah, just in terms of the show, it's been great to be on. Like, time flies so quick, but you guys have grown a ton into the show, and Just what it was back then to what it is now is pretty exciting, and just all the people and different like segments that you've done and the guests, it's pretty awesome to see. And I know like you only plan on doing it for a couple years, but it sounds like you're hooked. So
yeah, it's true. It's like when I started, I was like, oh, I'll do it for like 5 years, and now we're already 6 years in, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. But no, it's cool because Tim, you exactly, she's listening too. It's been a lot of fun. You've been with us, since the beginning. Tim and I have watched sports together, since we were in high school. So we've rooted for the same team. So it's fun to be able to get to even see each other, especially during the pandemic. And even if we can't see each other, we're basically watching a Wizards game, which we would be doing normally together. Usually you'd be sitting here in the man cave watching it with me, but this is awesome as well. And I appreciate you for joining us, and we'll definitely talk to you in season 7. So have a good next couple of weeks off, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night, guys. Bye.
All right. See ya. And that's good. We're doing Pokemon catching, and Josh, myself, and Quantum all just caught a Pokemon, so that's pretty cool. All right, Champ, I'm gonna let you. I know that you've had a long day, and I'm gonna let you give a shout out for your podcast, and any final parting words before we let you go as well.
Well, I'm gonna stay on the line and hang out for a little bit. I'm watching the game now. While I was doing the segment, I was able to go and grab my remote so I could put the game on. So I'm going to stay on for a little bit. But happy 6-year anniversary. I should have said that at the front, but the news of Scott Hall's passing was really very jarring. But it's been great to be a part of this for at least the last 2, maybe 3 of the 6 years of this podcast. Being a part of True Radio Network helped to reinvigorate my love for podcasting, which is why I have No Spots, which is about to finish its 3rd season. In a couple of weeks. We're going to be taking a 2-week break as well to go into our 4th season, and really excited. And finally, also, like this week is going to be 3 streams on Twitch this week, because I had a discussion with Sith, and we're going to do a pop-up podcast stream dedication to Scott Hall sometime, like probably Wednesday, where we're going to share our memories and favorite matches of Scott Hall's legendary Hall of Fame career. And hopefully we can get some other people on that want to share their memories, because a lot of my friends are old enough. They saw Scott Hall when he was Razor Ramon, and then when he was Scott Hall in WCW and all that stuff. So hopefully we can have a nice little, conversation about what a great man and what a great performer Scott Hall was. Thursday, we're going to be doing the New Japan podcast. The New Japan Cup is been heating up. There's a big angle with the Bullet Club that me and Sage I can't wait to talk about. So that's coming up Thursday. And then on Saturday, myself and Sith, we're going to sit down and we're going to actually come up with we had a suggestion from someone in our chat of coming up with a card, like a actual show of WWE versus AEW Supercard. So we're actually going to sit down and come up with that card and put that out there as well on Saturday. So Wednesday, 7 p.m., Thursday, 7 p.m., Saturday, 6 p.m. on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, with the audio from all 3 of those podcasts going up the very next day on our podcasting platforms. And you can check out SportsOTHP.com, click the podcast partners, and you'll see us right there.
That's awesome. Yes, definitely check all of that out. That sounds good. All right. Well, Champ, why don't I have you turn off your cam and mic, and then I'll bring you in at halftime and get a little halftime update of the game from there. And then I can bring in a couple other people on screen.
Awesome. I will.
All right. Sounds good.